Welcome. This is the first video in the series on quality assurance. In this video, we will have an introduction to quality assurance and management. We will discuss the need for a quality assurance program in imaging, introduce concepts of process improvement in problem identification and analysis, and explore quality management models. Quality assurance. Diagnostic imaging is a multi-step process by which information concerning the patient's anatomy and physiology is gathered and displayed with the use of modern technology. Unfortunately, there are numerous sources of variability in both human and equipment factors that can produce sub-quality images if not properly controlled. The purpose of a quality management program is to control or minimize these variables as much as possible. So there are three levels on which quality is determined. One is expected quality. This is the level of quality of the product or service that is expected by the customer and may be influenced by outside factors such as prior word of mouth. So if you're expecting it not to be very good because you heard it wasn't very good, right? Or if you're saying, hey, this is supposed to be a really good place to go to, whatever it might be, then you're expecting a higher quality. So that makes sense. Perceived quality, this is the customer's perception of the product or service. For patients undergoing diagnostic imaging, their experience such as how long they waited and how they were treated during the procedure greatly influences their perception of the quality. Therefore, how well an imaging professional performs his or her responsibility will have the greatest impact on this level of quality. So the perceived is, well, how was I treated? How did it seem to me? What's my perception of it? So that makes sense. In actual quality, this level of quality uses statistical data to measure outcomes and considers all factors that influence the final outcome, like things in radiology like quality of the imaging, accuracy of the diagnosis, timeliness of the report to primary physicians. So all these kind of things we can measure, right? And we can put numbers to it, statistics to it, and we can have actual quality measurement from that. Now we'll talk about the history of quality management. So Frederick Winslow Taylor is considered the father of science management. He was an American mechanical engineer. His philosophy was that the planning, function, and execution stage be separated and that the numerous individuals be assigned specific tasks within the production process. So if we think about what that says there, it's kind of like breaking down the job into their components. He's also said the father of modern management is what he's been called. He believed that the role and responsibility of manufacturing plant managers was to determine the best way to do a job and to provide proper tools and training to do the job. In the 1980s, the concept of quality improvement began to replace the scientific management concept, and these two guys, W. Edwards Deming and Joseph Duran, were the two people that were credited for it. So now we'll just go ahead and we'll introduce some legislation and government regulations. There's the Safety Medical Devices Act, the SMDA, which was in 1990, Mammography Quality Standards Act, which was 1992, that was updated by the Mammography Quality Standards Reauthorization Act in 1998. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is known as OSHA, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, the Joint Commission, and Accreditation of Healthcare Organization Accreditation Procedures, which is known as JCO. So all these regulatory agencies are relevant in radiology, in the radiology field, okay? So let's go ahead and we'll start talking about quality assurance. Quality assurance is an all-encompassing management program used to ensure excellence in healthcare through the systematic collection of and evaluation of data. The primary objective is to enhance patient care, including patient selection parameters, scheduling, management techniques, departmental policies, and procedures, technical effectiveness and efficiency in service education, and imaging interpretation with timeliness of report. So just like we talked about the statistical perceptions of quality with the timeliness and all those kind of things, this is the goal of quality assurance, okay, is to improve these areas. Quality control. Quality control is the part of the quality assurance program that deals with techniques used in monitoring and maintenance of the technical elements of the system that affect the quality of the image. So quality control is more about the equipment. Quality control has 3 levels, and that can include, of course, like the table, the detector, all those kind of things. So quality 1 is non-invasive and simple, and this can be performed by any technologist. So that would be like recalibrating the cassette, okay? It might be doing what we would call QA on a system, where through the system process you take a certain number of images in a certain way with the detector, and it can recalibrate itself in modern DR systems. So this can be done by any technologist. Level 2 is non-invasive and complex, should be performed by a technologist specifically trained in quality control procedures. So this would be possibly like more of like monthly tests or weekly tests, more involved processes. Okay, and then level 3 is invasive and complex, normally performed by engineers and physicists. So this is like taking the equipment apart, fixing it, making sure things are within certain parameters based on the manufacturer specs, okay, and what's required by the different organizations that we talked about, right? So now we'll go ahead and we'll talk about quality control tests. There are 3 types of quality control tests performed on various levels. So there's 3 different levels of quality control. Then there's 3 different types of tests that can be performed. One is like acceptance performed on new equipment. So it's making sure that the equipment was installed correctly and that it's within the parameters that it needs to be. There's routine tests, which is performed after equipment has been in use for a certain amount of time, and they're usually performed on a regular basis. They can be called PMs, which is like preventative maintenance that's done. And then there's also error correction, which evaluates the equipment that is malfunctioning. So when something breaks, this isn't working, then it needs to be fixed, okay, or changed so it's within spec of some sort if it falls out of specifications. So let's talk about process improvement through continuous quality improvement, which is often said CQI. CQI, continuous quality improvement. Process improvement through CQI, the concept's based on these things. It's based on the 85-15 rule. Is that the process in place is the cause of the problem 85% of the time, and only 15% due to the personnel. So most of the time it's the process that's in place is going to be causing the issues. The other 15% due to the personnel employee is that they're not following the process in some way, or they're doing some kind of an other unusual thing within it. And the 80-20 rule is that 80% of the problems are a result of 20% of the causes. So this says that a few or several issues are going to be what causes the issues most of the time, okay? And that the other 20% of the issues are going to be all the other ones, okay? So just 20% of the issues are going to be most of the causes, 80% or so. Workers who are the closest to the problem probably know what's wrong with the process, which I like that a lot. You know, the CQI process says that the ones who are close are probably going to be the ones that are going to have the solution to it, or good ideas to get you in the right direction, okay? Structured problem solving processes are better long term than the ones that are not structured. Improving quality is a responsibility of everyone within the organization. So this is a CQI model. Let's talk about problem identification and analysis. Group dynamic tools. So for continual quality improvement, several tools can be used to identify and analyze the data obtained. Groups who are familiar with the process are generally the most successful in helping with identification of the problem. So some of the tools that can be used is like brainstorming, where a large group just collects ideas. So you ask everybody, hey, what do you think of this issue? A focus group, a small group that focuses on a particular problem and then hopefully derives a solution. So if you have a multi-tiered problem, you could do the brainstorming first, you get all the ideas, and then you say, okay, well, y'all few work on this part of it, and y'all a couple other ones work on this idea. So they're working on each particular problems of the bigger issue. Quality improvement team, a group of individuals who implement the solution. So the quality improvement team are going to be the ones that actually implement what was come up with through these things. Quality circles, a group dynamic tool that is normally composed of workers from the same department or workers from other departments that have similar functions. They have regular meetings to identify problems and formulate solutions. So this is often something that will happen in a facility between different managers and stuff. They can have a meeting and they say, what's your issues, what's your concerns, what kind of problems are you having, and then they can come together where they cross over on tasks. Multi-voting after brainstorming, you can to dismiss non-realistic ideas. So you collect the brainstorming, you got a bunch of different ideas. Well, let's see, which ones do we think are the ones that are actually worth pursuing. Then you can go into the focus group and so on. Consensus, coming to an agreement on the most important ideas to be addressed. Pretty obvious there. Work teams focus on solving a complete problem or completing an entire task rather than focusing on a particular step. So the work teams will focus on the big problem, making sure that comes together. Now let's look at a few quality management models. There are many different quality management models. We will look at a few. The first one we will look at is the cycle of improving performance. This is from JACO. We can start here with objectives. So you have objectives, things that you want to accomplish, something that you want to improve, and where you want to get to on that subject. You come up with a design. The design can be done through brainstorming or like the focus groups that we talked about earlier. You have a function or a process that you're going to implement. You measure that, and that comes back to like the actual quality where you have statistical data to base on. You can put that into an internal database. You assess how that's going, comparative information, so information compared to other things may be related to it. You can add in here with in the assessment, and this can also be done in the focus group or the problem solving group of people. And then there's improvement priorities. So based on that, what are our priorities for the improvement? So then hopefully we move towards improvement and innovation. We can design, redesign this, and then we can go back to the objectives again. So did we meet our objectives? Is it what we want? Do we need to look at what we did again and go back to the design, which would be this step? So we'd be kind of skipping all these, could be all interconnected, and then we go back with the continuous improvement model. Next, we can look at the phases of FADE for problem solving. Alpha here. FADE is focus, analyze, develop, and execute. So that's right here in the middle of this model. Focus is choose a problem and describe it. Analyze, learn about a problem by collecting and analyzing pertinent data. Development is develop a solution to the plan. Execute is implement the plan, monitor the results, adjust as needed. And here we can see the different spokes, so-called, of the wheels. So in the focus, we have generate a list of problems, select one problem, verify and define the problem. So there could be many different problems that you're working on in the thing, but once you generate the list of problems, select one, and then you can implement this on one. When you're building the model, or when you're building the action plan on what to do, you can you don't have to go through all this sequentially. Okay, you can do this in parallel. So you can come up with you can come up with the written statement of the problem for all the different problems of the larger issue. Okay, and you can also go through this in parallel. Okay, but that will help better identify if you don't reach your final outcome by maybe the date that you determined it should be at a certain point, then you can say, oh, well, it was mostly these couple individual problems that we generated at the beginning that really let us down. So then you can go back through and we can focus on those problems and come up with a whole new plan. Okay, so beyond that, there's a baseline data list of most influential factors, so all the factors that can go into it. You decide what you need to know, collect data baselines from patterns, determine influential factors. Then there's implementation of the plan, so you generate a promising solution, select one solution, determine implementation plan. So here, just like before, you focus on one solution to the problem, so if it doesn't come out the way that you expected, you know that one solution to that one problem maybe isn't the best way, or maybe there was a problem, another issue that came up that a minor change can fix, but at least you're eliminating that as a possible solution to where you want to be. So then we move into organizational commitment, executed plan, and record of impact. So you gain commitment, execute the plan, monitor the impact. So gain commitment is you would have everybody in your team saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to commit to this, so they can all execute the plan and put it into action. And then you can have then with the outcome, you can know that it wasn't just because it wasn't being followed, or it wasn't being done, or it wasn't being put into action accordingly, that there's a problem with the solution, or the problem. Maybe the problem wasn't identified correctly. So you monitor the impact and see how it came out. So this is the FADE. The phases of FADE for problem solving. The next model we'll look at is the focus, or the PDCA model. So focus is find a process to improve, organize to improve the process, clarify current knowledge of the process, understand sources of process variation, select a process improvement. So very similar to some of the other things that we have discussed here already. And then you put that into the PDCA, which is plan an approach, do the activity, check the results, act on the results. So this will conclude our video for the introduction of quality management. Remember, the purpose of quality management is to control or minimize both human and equipment factors in radiology that can produce sub-quality images if not properly controlled as much as possible. In the next video, we will look at radiographic testing equipment.